I remember my first night on the street, and it was cold out that night. And I remember going to a playground and trying to huddle up in the jungle gym. I seen a trash can off in the distance, and I said, you know, it's probably a good idea to go take the liner from that trash can and sleep inside the plastic.
As a boy, Matthew McFerrin probably never thought he would end up like this, but he did. Matthew grew up near Youngstown, Ohio. He had a good relationship with his father, who was a firefighter and later a pastor, but he didn't share the same feelings toward his mother.
She would put me behind a door with Legos and just leave me there and not even talk to me. It really put me in a place where I thought that I was meant to be abandoned and rejected.
Eventually, his mother left. His father later remarried, and Matthew finally began to open up to his stepmother. But then she was diagnosed with a terminal illness.
I really took a selfish perspective where it was like, you know, I'm being abandoned again. And so it made those walls go right back up.
After losing a mother for the second time, Matthew, who was now in high school, turned to drugs to ease the pain.
I felt hurt, I felt lost, and I didn't know what to do. But I knew, you know, for me at that age, going to church didn't work for me. What worked was, you know, putting a haze in front of me so that I didn't have to deal with reality.
Matthew sold drugs as a teenager and then moved on to stealing cars.
One night I was at a party and I was getting drunk, and there was a gentleman there that said, oh, you know, I have a buddy who runs a chop shop and they need a Nissan, and he said they're going to give $1,500 for the person that gets it. So that's like 3 weeks worth of selling dope.
After several years of stealing cars, he was arrested and sent to prison. For the first time in his life, his conscience started to bother him.
When I was in prison, I had a little bit of time to reflect and think about the things that I had done, the people that I had hurt, and it consumed me.
When he was released, Matthew decided he no longer wanted to steal cars. With no influx of cash, he looked for a cheap way to get high, and found one: heroin.
3 months into shooting heroin, I found myself with nothing, broke and homeless. I had finally, you know, reached the place that I belong. Homeless, strung out on dope, sleeping in a trash can liner. And the plastic kept me warm, you know, but it smelled like trash. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, this is where you belong. This is what you deserve.
One evening, Matthew was out looking for his next fix.
I was walking northbound on 6th Avenue, and I start praying, saying, you know, Lord, please just give me $10 so I can buy a shot of dope. And I look off in the distance, and I see something that looks to be currency. About 10 yards, I could see a 10 on it. So I'm like, it's a $10 bill. You know, and I say, oh, there is a God. My whole life I'm waiting for you to show yourself, and here you are right now giving me a $10 bill for dope.
The $10 bill was phony, but what was inside was worth far more.
I realized that it's not a real $10 bill, it's a fake $10 bill. And I said, you know, Lord, I knew you didn't love me. You know, I knew you weren't going to give me $10. And inside of it is the full book of Proverbs, pulled out of those little miniature New Testaments. And I took that book of Proverbs with me that night. And I read that night about, you know, wisdom.
Matthew says that evening was a turning point in his life.
For the first time in my life, I remember thinking that there is a God, and He is present in my life. I thought He had a warped sense of humor, you know. I would have preferred a real $10 bill. But this was one point where it was evident, you know, that the hand of God was working in this situation. And I felt the Lord saying that I'm always with you. I'm never going to abandon you. I'm never going to reject you.
He started going to church and studying the Bible, and later went through a successful recovery program. Soon afterward, he met and married Jennifer. Today, Matthew helps Jennifer run the Miracle Center in Tucson. a facility for women dealing with addiction. Matthew also hosts The Overcoming Life, a Christian radio show for recovering addicts.
It's one of the most powerful things about being a believer in Jesus Christ, about being a Christian, is we're given an opportunity to reach out into the darkness and offer people life. We're given an opportunity to reach out to people who are incapable of loving themselves and offering them an unconditional love that's so great that it can't be denied.
Matthew says his purpose in life is to use his experiences to share Christ with other addicts.
I know the creator of heaven and earth. I know the God that hung the stars in the sky, who knows the number of hairs on my head. What greater statement can be made? And if we truly believe that this is the God that we worship, how could we ever doubt that he's not going to work in our life?